to be here with you, Natalie, and to talk about your book and to really get into the specifics of it. It is just I feel like meant to be on so many levels, and you can speak to so many things I've recently been talking about, and I think you can extend the discussion in beautiful ways. But for anyone who is tuning in or tuning in later, I have Natalie Jones with me, and this is her beautiful book, Awaken the Higher Self. And there's so much wisdom, so much knowledge contained within this book. And you're just an incredible speaker. And I love what you're doing in this world. And you're having a lot of fun doing it too, it looks like.
Well, that's what life is for. What would life be worth living if we didn't just appreciate and be grateful for all of the beautiful things around us, right? So, absolutely. And that's a really big message. I believe that really goes into everything that we do and spreading that light and just those pure vibrational frequencies of abundance and love and joy and all of those other great things that go along with it.
Yeah, so my first question for you really deals with a topic in your first chapter that I get all the time as a near death experiencer. You might imagine that people love hearing about the love and the lights and the unconditional love, and you address unconditional love in that first chapter. But you also go into how it wouldn't exist without the contrast and where we might be moving in the future. And people always want to bring up the contrast, and I don't mind talking about that. So, would you tell me a little bit more about the download that you got about unconditional love and why we have darkness?
Absolutely. Yes. And you're absolutely correct in that, that duality is so necessary, and where we, would not know love if we did not experience the opposite, hate or anger or any of those other lower vibrational energies. They're actually there to help us to learn and grow, not just, spiritually, but we have our other bodies as well, our physical body, our mental and our emotional, and they're all interconnected and they all affect one another. And it's a beautiful opportunity to learn. And, instead of allowing an experience to create any more lower vibrational energy, such as guilt or shame or anything like that, then we can take a step back and look at the chaos or the negative of it and really take that opportunity to grow and learn from it, not hold it inside. And I believe, with that duality, you're able to continue on a path where you're able to continue to learn how to discover yourself from within and connect to that heart center and that those elevated emotions that bridge the gap to the universe and the entire consciousness field and our cosmic consciousness and who we really are. And that's where, that path of becoming a being of unconditional love, where we can have active compassion for others in difficult experiences, and is a really beautiful thing. Yeah. And I had, over the course of writing this book, it was such an undertaking. And one of the topics that I go into are universal laws. And one of the laws is the law of witnesses, which is, we will receive witness of two or three in a way that the universe knows that we would recognize it. And everybody's different because everybody has a different perception of reality and all of that, but in a way that we would recognize it. And I received a witness. And I knew for a while, up until I started writing the book, that I would at some point I would need to put all of this knowledge for the greater good and for the higher good, and to be used as wisdom into this book. And one day rolled around. It was early last year, actually, and I received a witness into, and I said, well, okay, it's time to start writing. So I did, and I knew it. I said, well, I know myself. It can't drag on. I don't want this to be, a book that takes 2 years to write. So I committed to a specific routine, and I was able to write it within, 2.5 months or so. And during that process, again, I had that routine. I would commit about 3 hours every morning after my yoga, and I would do some prayer and meditation and ask if, anything else that needed to come through would be in the book. And there was a few very incredible experiences that I had while writing
I'd
it.
actually,
Yeah.
I'd actually like to hear about those because I'm teaching a writing workshop and I tell people that even if you're not going to publish, even if you're writing for yourself, you can connect to higher guidance in the
Mhm.
process of writing. Like that is
Mhm.
possible. But when you're putting it out there for other people, I think our guides can work through us for the sake of humanity. And that's
Right.
so I'd love to hear about your experiences.
Yeah. So, and one of them was what you read in the book. Actually had, I'm in a hypnagogic state of consciousness. I will regularly receive communication that comes through that is either for the highest good for myself and, of course, then for others. And a message came through one morning, and it was about the law of unconditional love. And I knew, and it was right at the point where I was writing in the beginning about universal laws. And I was actually formulating a diagram to show the different universal laws and how they are all interconnected. And so when that download came through, and I immediately got up and wrote it down, and it was just phenomenal. I said, well, it makes sense. The law of unconditional love. Of course, there would be a law of unconditional love because everything is energy, and with that energy, that highest energy, that pure energy is a form of unconditional love. It is unconditional love. So there would be, in turn, a law of unconditional love where the other laws would intrinsically flow into that. And so I incorporated that in the diagram and I wrote about it in the book. And it was just a really neat experience. One of the other,
Well,
um,
actually,
yeah,
can I ask you a question about that? Because I read that and
yeah,
I like to break it down for people and who are listening, and we do have some who are listening right now. You call it opposition. I'm reading from your book right now. Opposition plus attraction plus creation plus nature plus free agency. Could you explain a little bit about that for those who are viewing? Because to me, I just felt unconditional love, and it's really kind of interesting when people have the language to break it down.
yeah, and I'm going to open it so that I have my visual as well. It's so the light is in all things, and it's omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, meaning that omniscient, it's all wisdom, omnipresent, everywhere at once, and omnipotent, all powerful. And that is in all things that are created, which then gives us the law of unconditional love, which is the light, and the light is in all things. So once something is full of light, we can basically command matter versus energy will obey. And then you have the law of nature, meaning that there are light in all things. So with nature and the way that nature is constructed, if you are full of light and you have that ability to have that mind and that creation and those emotions that go with it, because the mind is creates the thoughts are electrical energy, whereas the emotions are magnetic energy. So what we're putting out and thinking comes back, with a magnetism, and it then we're able to understand that when we are that creative being and everything around us is a part of that energy and that creation, then because energy is equals mc squared, so energy equals matter times the speed of light squared, right? So you're able to understand that nothing can be created nor destroyed because it's already created. So you either have matter, energy, or you have energy that can be converted into matter, meaning you're creating, you're manifesting, you're a creative being, and we all have that birthright. And when you look around and you're a being of light, a being of unconditional love, then you can start to see that what's inside is starting to manifest in your external world. That's when it starts to get fun, right?
And I think that these times are teaching us that we're manifesting quicker. that we have the ability. There's something about quarantine and whatever energetic time we are in right now
Right.
that I'm noticing. And I went into meditation, and maybe you've seen something like this or you can elaborate on it. I saw that there's when we are in fear and when we are thinking about, bad things happening in our country and around the world, we start participating in an energy that creates it. And the minute we step out of it and think about peace, we start creating a different world. Like I'm literally seeing how
Absolutely.
collectively we're doing that.
Absolutely. And having that collective mind, that universal mind is key. And this is a part of the reason why I knew I needed to write this book and have this large platform to spread this very important knowledge. They do not want us to know just how powerful creative beings that we are, because that would thwart the plan, right? Just like you're saying. And I think right now, when you're in fear, that's the faith killer. And when you operate with full faith, then there's no doubt. Where there's full faith, there is no doubt. And you start to understand that these energies, these thoughts, they are emitting an energy frequency constantly. We are constantly in a state of creation. Yes. And if we're thinking positive, we have a positive perception of reality, and we do it collectively, then we will start to see a whole entire different um, globe, and we can ascend together and really participate in changing everything to a world where we have faith and we're full of love and compassion, and not be in a place where these types of things are happening right now.
How do you do this personally? Can you give me an example of how you work with energy? Say you encounter something negative. How do you work with it?
I call it wrangling energy because I am from Texas here. So, here's the thing is that with everything that I was just saying at the same time, and this goes into what we started the conversation out with, is that if we did not know the opposite, then we would not know to change it. So again, sometimes things need to be broken down completely in order to rebuild anew. And that's a natural part of life process as well. So I feel like, at the same time, we are in a process where it's helping people to awaken. It's helping people to see that we're in a in a very energetic space that's not necessary, and that we will overcome it. And I have full faith that we will. But yes, I will take a lot of my day, because when we go to sleep and we're in that astral space, and other types of spaces that do exist, and we are always picking up different energies too as we go throughout our day. So I like to do specific practices every day that really help to keep my chakra system and my auric field open and flowing, and make sure that there aren't any blockages. Because when you don't have any blockages in your chakra system, then that light, again, it's continually flowing, and it keeps out that dark energy or that lower vibrational energy, and it just allows the light to permeate. And I believe that yoga I found to be very effective, because it does help keep you grounded and balanced, and it is energy channeling with those different poses. Meditation is extremely important for everybody. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day that you start out, it's important to begin to meditate, because meditate allows you to be in a state of awareness and in the present moment. And when we're constantly in the present moment and in a state of awareness, then we are then conscious beings. And when we are conscious beings, then we're at our most elevated state in the moment, and making that conscious effort. What am I thinking about right now? Am I thinking about what happened 2 months ago? Or am I thinking about that doesn't exist anymore? And what a beautiful moment this is, and creating a different future, being in the present future and not the present past, where we're creating more of those negative karmic cycles and creating more of the same thing that we don't want. Well, if we don't want it anymore, then the key is to stop thinking about it.
Yeah, and have a little empathy for the self as we grow too. I think, like that's been free self-forgiveness has been important, on my
Yeah.
journey to go. I didn't know how to do better, or how to think better thoughts because of trauma or because of fear. And now that I know, then choose differently. So
Yeah.
yeah, already we have a question from a listener. So I'd love to go ahead and take that question. Uh, AJ Hernandez says, I love spirit science. A question: when you were young, did you grow up in a strict ritualistic religion, as most of us did? If so, when you were younger, did you see yourself going in this direction?
So I love this question because it really goes into something that really resonates with every single one of us, which is we all have a childhood experience that will stick out. And in that moment, we do not have a conscious awareness, but it turns out that it is a direct indication of who we are and the life work that we actually do. And everybody that I've spoken to thus far does have that moment where it's like an aha moment. You can look back and that memory just really holds very strongly. And here's the thing: is what is, what was, and what will be is all of the same. What is time, right? So that experience when you're a child is actually a direct indication of who you are. You didn't turn in life and go a specific direction because of that experience, but in fact, it's the other way around. You had that experience because of who you are. And as we get older and we grow and we learn and we mature, because we are in a linear, type of timeline, then we start to come to the table and we start to awaken and we start to reconnect with our elevated heart center and start to be able to reprogram and rewire the real inner self and be in that connected to the spiritual mind. And when I did myself, then I realized all of this because I had quite the experience, when I was a child, about 6 or 7. And it is also, I will say that sometimes in life, the direction that we go is not something that we ever thought that we would, but yet it is. So in a way that life chooses us, and it's not that we chose that, but it's coming to, an understanding and again, an awakening. And then when you do realize what your life purpose and your life path, your soul mission and all of that is, then there's really no turning back from that because it's a beautiful thing. And you have the aha moment and you say, oh, wow, okay, well, I guess this is what I'm here to do. Let's do it. And to go back about the religion and all of that. Yeah, I believe that sometimes we can be brought up with different belief systems, whether it be religion or not. And I think that every experience that we have, it happens for a reason. Nothing is coincidence. And every life cycles that we go through to get there are all a part of it as well. So it's just for me, that's exactly how it has come to pass. And now I'm sitting here talking to you. So
Which is so much fun. And I love the things that you say about time being relative. And when did you start realizing this? At what point in life did a lot of these realizations just hit you?
yes, when I started to have my spiritual awakening is when I started to understand that there I was operating out of a perception from that was mostly ego based and not spiritual based, and connecting with the inner self. And those channels started to open. What I mean by that is that the communications, they're coming through for all of us. We are all equal. Every single one of us is a part of the universe and required to make things go round. And when, I liken it to a radio station. When the tuner is in between channels or it's not picking up, you have all of that static. And whenever it's clear and those communications start coming in that are our birthright, that come in for each and every one of us, then your perception starts to open up, and then you have these aha moments. And for me, about consciousness and energy and reality of things are completely elevated. And in meditation, and then my other ways of channeling energy and communicating with different dimensions. And I know some people love to do remote viewing, or have become very good at being able to connect with, which another thing that I express is that the universe and all of its infinite wisdom really is enfolded in all of us. And so when you're connected to that and you're in meditation, or you're in that present moment awareness, then you're awake, then you're a conscious being. And then you're not thinking about fear, because fear is an illusion. You're not thinking about negative things that happen that truly just don't even exist. You think they exist, but that's the ego talking. And so it really was when I had my awakening.
Can we go a little deeper with that? Because that's what I felt in heaven was, when I went far enough away, no, and I say this frequently, no bad thing that had ever been done to me, bad, was taken into that realm. Only the love is what I took. My soul took only the love.
Mm-hmm.
I was held accountable for how the choices I made, but everything that I received in a loving way is what I took, not the negative. So
Right.
could you break that down a little bit more, how the negative is not real?
Absolutely. And you're absolutely correct in saying that when we, here in the earthly realm, the third dimension, sometimes when our spirit actually passes, then sometimes we either move on, or sometimes, depending on what happens, if there's lower attachments, they may still keep us here in the third dimension on the spiritual plane. But when you move on, and in that state of place that you were in, those lower attachments, whether it be, when I say lower attachments, I mean any energy. Let's just say you have a line right here. Anything below that line is lower energy, and anything above that line would be higher energy. So lower energy is would be negative, and therefore would be dark in nature, and would be considered a lower attachment that would keep us to the lower vibrations that come with the third dimension. That's the best way I know how to explain that with energy. And so when all of those lower attachments, when we move on, they no longer exist, because they never really existed anyway. So all there is love. And when you start to understand that in a body here, then you see the world with a whole new set of eyes. And those lower attachments are an illusion. They're an illusion, and you really are in an understanding, in a space that love really is all there is.
And this kind of ties into something I've been wanting to, there's so many things I've wanted to ask you, but I noticed you do ghost clearings, and you do work, in that realm with some filmmakers and various
yes.
people. Could you tell me more about that? Because after my NDE, I cleared a few ghosts just when I encountered them. Like, what was that like for you, and how did that evolve? And
Yes, so I am also a paranormal investigator. I am a lead navigator for Ghost Hunter Girls in Dallas, Texas. And it's been quite the journey, with this spiritual awakening, and then tying it into my profession as a paranormal investigator, and furthering research in the paranormal field, and helping people to overcome those dark influences around them, as well as even more serious when it turns into an attachment, or to the point of possession. That's a very touchy subject with a lot of people. Some people do not even believe that something like that is possible. But what I will say is this, is that, it's all about raising our vibrational frequency anyways, and everything comes by healing from within in order to have a different external experience. And we like to put terms on things as well in order to communicate and understand. So if we just have an open mind and say, okay, well, we know energy is real, and you do have dark energy, and you do have dark matter, and we do have light energy, and those can manifest in different ways, whether we want to believe it's something this or that. And that's why we do the work that we do as paranormal investigators to, with equipment, with our gifts and abilities that we naturally have, our understanding, our experience, everything is rolled into that, and bringing science into it now. Science is really getting into trying to explain things that are unseen or seem to be unexplainable, but that they exist because something specific happens. And it's something that's being a little bit more open-minded with certain areas of the science now as well. And you have the science of consciousness and all of that. So yes, I wrote Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light, specifically because I am a dark energy healing facilitator. And all truth and healing comes by the light. I'm not a healer. I'm only a healing facilitator. I work for the light, and I'm a light worker. But I came up with the term dark energy healing facilitator because it was just very, very descriptive of exactly, what the work is that I do. And I would take these residential cases as a paranormal investigator where, it was very dire situations sometimes. And if you are familiar with possession, or whether you believe that was something where, those were those types of cases as well that I would take on. But, here in a bit, we can go into the different types of dark energy. But yes, that's why I specifically wrote the book, is because I saw the fruits of my labor and how it was truly transforming people's lives, whether that was real or not. They were able to move in a different direction. And yeah.
So yeah, the one thing that I've been puzzled with, and maybe you can explain this to people who are praying and they feel a ghost in their house, or they feel a presence and it isn't wanted. Does it ever attach to them or someone in the house? And so it's the healing has to occur for that person?
Yes. So typically with dark energy, and there's different types of attachments. I mean, you can have demonic attachments, spirit attachments. You can have just general like energy type attachments. And so with attachments, it typically will occur where you see some sort of outward effect on somebody when there is spirit fragmentation. And I explain spirit fragmentation in Awaken the Higher Self as well. And, it's a part of life. Sometimes we go through really traumatic experiences, or there's other things that can happen that cause spirit fragmentation. And it doesn't mean that we're bad. It's just a process of life. And there's a reason why we're specifically going through that experience, because there's something that we're supposed to learn from it in order to grow. And so having the knowledge 99% of the time allows somebody to take charge of their free will and heal themselves just with a little bit of facilitating. And but with that spirit fragmentation, there are these spiritual streamers that come off of the fragments, though we cannot see them. They are very real. And that is where these different energies can attach or latch on. Sometimes even like an innocent spirit who thinks that they're trying to help, they by nature have a negative effect on us because they do have lower attachments that are keeping them here. So they may have really good intention in helping, but they're not meant to attach to us within, and therefore because of those lower attachments, they do more harm than good. And so it's all very interesting.
It is, and I have so many questions just personally. I want to get to the viewers' questions too. Just one quick question of mine, and then I'm going to ask some of theirs. So I have a friend who he takes AVPs, I think it's called, from different places where there are hauntings, and he sent me a file. And the dog that I had at the time was a really tough dog. Like she did not get scared of anything, and she freaked out. Like every hair on her stood up. She jumped out of her skin when she heard that AVP and ran out of the room. So I was like, that's real.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Electronic voice phenomena. It stands for EVP. And those are captured typically on a digital recorder. And I will give an example of an EVP that was truly incredible. Also, as a paranormal investigator, we tried to corroborate different other things that give a piece of a piece of evidence the credibility. So, for example, we were investigating at an undisclosed location, and there's a specific room where there was a male child spirit that had passed away in that room, and it was his bedroom. And earlier that day, we had actually captured on film an apparition of a child walking across the room, and there was a blow up Spider-Man toy in that room, and you could see right as it passed in front of that toy, it fell over. And then we went and we were up in that room that same day, just within a couple of hours. And the owner was explaining to us, what had happened in that room. And he started getting chills. That's what we have come to understand as investigators can happen, that you start getting the chills whenever there's something around you, some sort of energy that has its own electromagnetic signature, and whenever it combines with your electromagnetic signature, it can have that effect. And so he started getting the chills, so I immediately went into my mode and I started putting my hands around him, and it went from just regular room temperature. There was this extreme cold spot around him. So I said, hurry quick, bring out the digital recorder. We started asking questions. So we went back and we replayed the digital recorder because it picks up on different sound frequencies that we can't audibly hear with the human ear, because we can only hear a certain hertz range with our own ears. That's why we use the digital recorder. And going back and listening to that, there was a male child spirit that came through and said, it hurts, I can't move. Well, what had happened to him, he was actually murdered by asphyxiation. And so by hearing that EVP, it's got very heavy in the room. We got very, very emotional. You could feel it. And, as paranormal investigators doing this type of work, it's to help these energies, to help them to understand that it's okay and that they can move on. And so, though it's very difficult to hear that and see those things, we're able to then turn around and help. And that's where it's a blessing. And that's why we do that.
Yeah, for sure. That's the ultimate goal, is to connect that spirit to healing light and to moving on. And that's beautiful. I have so many questions from viewers. One is, and it kind of sounds like maybe you got into this a bit, but you can elaborate if you wish. Do you have a personal energy clearing routine or something along those lines?
Yes. So I love to do kinesic energy meditation, which is I will go into, my normal meditation and do clearing with my mind. And then I will go through and do these kinesic energy poses and meditations. It's just all about, channeling that energy and clearing out negative and bringing in positive. But my go-to is yoga, and I am a Reiki master. And so I like to do my self-therapy chakra and light energy treatments right after yoga. Is my favorite time to do it, laying on my mat. And I will go through and make sure that all of my chakras and my auric field is protected and open and flowing, because it keeps out and removes any type of psychic debris as well that may have come in. Because like I said, there's so many different types of energies around us every day. Every day is a new day and a new opportunity to better ourselves. So it's a progression, and it's a journey, not a destination. So those are some of the things that I do.
Yeah, very cool. And I want to loop back to something you said earlier and connect to the idea of clearing out the chakras. So I went through a time where I was actually fainting, and I realized that if I did Tai Chi and yoga and kind of cleared out the chakras, then trauma wasn't getting stuck in certain areas. They're mainly the sacral chakra. So I think people sometimes think vertigo or fainting or actual health issues when it's really just a blockage.
Right. Right. That's so true. You're looking at something at a very microscopic level, right? At the cellular level. And then you start to realize just how powerful the mind really is. And you realize that whatever issue is going on, it's because there's some sort of darker energy that's there that just needs to be cleared out. So,
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, here's another question. I understand. Oh wait, no. What can we do to improve our ability to hear angels, spirit teams, guidance? What would you suggest?
the question was to prove it.
No, to improve the ability to connect and really
Improve.
hear guidance.
Yes. So, meditation again is going to be the key in starting to become always in a state of present awareness. Because again, when you're in a state of present awareness, then you're awake and you're conscious. And you're not thinking about things that have happened in the past. The moment that you start thinking about things that have happened in the past, then you're disconnected then you're in separation from the cosmic consciousness. And then you're able to reconnect and be in that present moment and be in control of your thoughts and emotions, then you're connected to those elevated emotions, which are centered in the heart center, where the spiritual mind is, in the heart chakra and the solar plexus chakra. And when you're connected and you're bridging the gap between that heart center and the rest of the cosmic conscious field, then you're able to have those channels open. Again, it's doing those things to make sure that your chakras are open and flowing. The more light energy that is around you over time, the more you'll start to see your external environment change, and different communications come in. Different things will start to happen to you, and you'll say, oh my gosh, that really just happened. I will say this as well. Intermittent fasting is extremely effective to releasing toxins from the body. The more toxins are released from the body, the more receptive we are as well. Intermittent fasting has also been proven by doctors to be extremely healthy. So by intermittent fasting, if you're not familiar, what it is take a 24-hour period of time. 12 hours is not eating, where the 8 hours is eating. Well, that's easy, right? Because we work 8 hours a day. You have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're not skipping meals, but then you commit to fasting the rest of those 12 hours. If you want to take it further, they say that the most healthy version of intermittent fasting is the 36-12. So, and I think there's an in-between in there, but it's really good for the body to release those toxins and clear that out.
Yeah, and fasting has been a part of humankind for a long time and always connected with spirituality, and that is, no matter what religion you can look at, fasting is often a part of it. And cleanses, it's all the rage since the 90s. I've done a few and probably need to do some more.
Well, dark energy and dark matter it deteriorates the bodies, the four bodies, the spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. And when we're in a state of deterioration, then we're not living and growing and healing. So it's one way or the other, right? And there are these amazing things that we can do to help us be conscious and awake and continue I'm ready for this world to, let's make this a 5D world, everyone ascend and awake. And that's going to be the key, is 1%.
So yeah, I guess you're getting to the point I want to ask anyway. So how do we do that? So spirits keep telling me, and it's very clear. They say there's so much that's possible. You guys aren't pushing it enough. You need to look at possibilities, spiritual possibilities beyond what your mind grasps right now. So what all is possible?
Wow, I just got really emotional out of nowhere. That's pretty incredible. So yeah, 1%, when I say 1%, so 1% is called superfluidity. When think of it like a glass of water. and you're starting to boil or freeze the water, it only takes 1% of those molecules in order for the rest of the molecules to start taking on the same shape. And another example would be plants. You know, they did that testing where a plant's a living life form. They would have students walk by and call a plant names, and the other one tell it very nice, kind, loving things. And over a period of time, the plant that was being, you know, told negative, horrible things was the plant that started deteriorating and dying. And it's the same thing. It's all energy. And this 1% is the key mark in order to help everybody else ascend. So by me raising my vibrational frequency, it's helping you to do the same, and it's helping everybody else to do the same. But the more of us that do that, you know, then we're getting to a completely different state of being as a globe, as a whole. And it's important. It's very important. So
Yeah, and that's a beautiful answer. Do you have any idea of what is possible once that 1% ascends and gets to the highest vibration? Like how will this world look? How will it be different? I feel like we're not even having the conversations about enough of them about what it will look like. We're looking at the chaos right now instead of the beauty that is going to happen.
Well, if I was just, the download was there are infinite possibilities.
Yeah, yeah. And
infinite possibilities, but that's pretty cool because that means we can do whatever we want, whatever we decide.
and that's kind of mind-blowing in the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there anything?
Everything about intention too. You know, how do we want things to look? What future do we want for our children? How do we want this world to look? Is it possible to ascend to a celestial state of earth, a celestial state of being? I believe so. I know so, but it's going to take more. And again, this loops back around to what we started this discussion off with is we will not know joy and unconditional love if we do not experience the complete opposite. And I believe that we're going through a state of cleansing, not just as a globe, but Mother Earth as well. And a part of that cleansing process is to, you know, have destruction to a point where we're able to then rebuild and clear out the yucky stuff.
Yeah, and part of what I like to imagine is a perfect balance between technology and commerce and nature, you know, to where we're never degrading Mother Earth in any way. And I feel that, and if people were more aligned with what they want to create and the joy they want to create from the right vibration, I think it would be just lovely. Like, I'm really excited to talk with you today. So this was the right video for me to put on YouTube, you know, to have this conversation with you. And I'm starting to look at myself, and I think everyone is in quarantine. What am I doing that isn't perfectly aligned with what I want to do? Mm-hmm. And yet, how is that transition going to work? You know, like, it seems like, wow, it's really challenging for humanity.
You know, I think everyone's so focused on the external that they're forgetting to look at the internal, because the external is actually a reflection of the internal. Again, and I can't stress that enough. We're waiting for something to change. Well, when this happens, then I'll be happy. Well, when that happens, then I can do this. No, that is living in a state of lack. You're thinking, you're giving yourself a message that something's missing in order to be a certain way, when it all already is within you and it comes from within. Yes, it's easier said than done, but it's because we are in a fallen state of being. We are in the third dimension, and we're all very brave for being here. We all chose to come here. So we're all here, and we all play a very integral part in helping ourselves in order to help others, because you cannot pour from an empty cup either. But it all begins from within. And Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light, is about the steps to begin to heal from within, and the path to awakening, and how to deal with those unseen forces around us in order to continue in that forward motion.
So here's an interesting question, and this could apply to many different types of ailments. And this person asked in particular, is there a way to know if a health ailment like breast cancer or autoimmune disorder, anything is pre-chosen by us coming into this plane to learn? And is this clogged energy from our free will and choices, or is it pre-chosen, really is the question.
Yes. So there's a lot of moving parts here. One being first is this moment is happening right now for a reason, and nothing is coincidence. And it's all about, we are not dealt any cards, or we do not have to deal with something if we are not also at the same token giving that healing protocol or the information along that path in order to correct it. Before we came here, we all chose our experiences in order to, we said, I want to have my highest state of growth. I want to have my highest state of being, my celestial state. How do I get there? Then the answers were given to us. Then you'll have to go through this, and this. And not really knowing and understanding what that would look and feel like, we agreed to it. And then here we are. So with that said, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional, and I would never discourage anybody from seeking that. I'm only merely natural, in the state of natural modalities of healing from within. And so when we chose those things, then again, you're pre-programmed with the ability to remedy that as well. All of the answers lie from within, and it's about light energy and removing dark energy, whether it's emotions, whether it's something in the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body. If there's something that's not right, it's an indication that there's lower vibrational energy present, and all lower vibrational energy is deteriorating.
Yeah, and I personally always come back to loving the self too through it. Like one thing that a near-death experience taught me is even if I'm transitioning, even if I have and when I have that disease, that takes me out, I'm going to try to send love to myself through the process because it's natural. Death is natural.
Yeah. So I'm very clairsentient, and I believe one of the readers right now is very emotional, possibly having hot flashes, a little bit of nausea, and just really emotional. So I don't know if there's anyone watching right now feeling that, but if you are, I can feel you. I can feel you. And I just want to tell you that it's going to be okay. And I would love for you to reach out, and I would love to share Awaken the Higher Self, bringing darkness to light with you as well.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. And this will stay, this is a live video right now, but more people will watch it later. It's just an upload. And I really appreciate your wisdom. And tell us a little bit about the workshop on the 29th that we're going to be doing, that you're hosting.
Yes, I'm so excited. Well, we had workshop 1 on November 8th. It was wonderful. Everybody just had a phenomenal time. We were able to talk about consciousness. We were able to talk about your amazing book, Angels in the OR, and how we met, and my book, and how they're so interconnected when it comes to our foundation of unconditional love and those angelic beings around us, and why we're here for a specific experience, and to learn how to be kind and help others to do the same.
Wow.
And so the workshop on the 8th was workshop 1, and workshop 2 is going to be on the 29th. And you can find the link to the workshop actually on Trisha, on your page, on your Instagram, as well as my Facebook page as well.
Awesome. And I'm going to have all those links up. And we must have had some paranormal activity because my entire screen, if you could have seen it over here, you were still talking, went completely gray. And it was the weirdest
Yes.
thing.
Well, my best guess is that whoever was being affected, that it may have to do with that as well, because I will typically see that something like this may occur. When we have dark forces around us, they do not want us to heal, and they do not want us to have certain information. Sometimes they will lash out, and weird things can happen. So yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So I guess we will end here and just be patient with me, everyone who is watching. I will put up the links for Natalie's book and our workshop and everything below this video. But thank you, Natalie, for the work that you do and the beautiful book that you've written and for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope to see everybody at the workshop. Trisha and I hope to see everybody at the workshop this month, November 29th at 7 p.m. Central.
Yes, would love